The emotional, compassionate response that human beings naturally feel is generally the one that they go with. When we are trying to get to the bottom of a complicated moral situation, we tend to err on the side of what we feel to be right, not necessarily what's strictly logical or practical, but what we feel to be right, what our gut tells us is right, what makes us feel good in terms of doing good for others. And this is a good thing. It serves as evidence that human beings are fundamentally good and decent and compassionate. After all, if that weren't the case, then why would people almost universally side with their well-intentioned ideas and their well-intentioned notions of helping others? It's because fundamentally most people are decent and good, and they err on the side of being good towards others. But when that is exploited, as it so often is, then it can be turned towards perverse ends that don't act towards the good that was intended in the first place. And unfortunately, it is often very easy for people to exploit these well-intentioned feelings, these feelings of compassion and beneficence, because human beings do naturally gravitate towards those. Most people just go with those feelings and don't necessarily apply much rigor to how those feelings, if put into action, are really going to affect the world around them. And unfortunately, often a lot of evil can be done as a result of good intentions. The old saying is, of course, that the road to hell is paved by good intentions, or the road to hell is paved with good intentions, depending on which version you quote. But the only way to really avoid that is to be rigorous, to take real stock of what a well-meaning, well-intentioned idea, thought, or feeling, what that will really do when put out into the world. Whether an action, regardless of how good and noble it seems in the moment, whether it will really help when put into practice, or whether it might unintentionally make things worse. Because compassion is great. We should all be truly compassionate. We should all embody our compassion to the greatest degree we possibly can. But it has to be true compassion. It can't be just the compassion of a whim, because the compassion of a whim can easily cause more harm than good. Compassion is great, but if compassion makes a situation worse, if simply acting without thinking and being compassionate but without really thinking it through, if that makes a situation worse, then obviously that's bad. We have to have a certain degree of rigor and restraint, or else we can't really help anyone at all. And unfortunately, it's far too easy for unscrupulous people to take advantage of those with good intentions. Those with good intentions don't necessarily put a lot of intensive thought towards exactly how their good intentions will play out once put into action. It's a lot easier, and we've all fallen into this trap, it's just human nature, but it's a lot easier to simply do what makes us feel good in terms of helping others and trying to be a good person, because that of course makes people feel good. That's part of it. People do not act entirely altruistically in the sense that whenever someone does something they believe to be good, it gives them pleasure. It makes them feel good. And so there's always that element to it. That's not the defining quality of compassion. That's not the defining quality of trying to do good. Ultimately, if you really try to do good, then it's going to cause you more suffering and hardship than pleasure. That's just all the people throughout history who have truly committed themselves to trying to do good in the world have, well, perhaps not all of them, but most of them have suffered greatly, and whatever pleasure they gained from it in terms of just feeling good about themselves in the moment ultimately did not. They suffered more than they got a moment's pleasure from it, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. But it is also undeniable that it's easier to just give into that feeling of oh, I did something good, I did something charitable, I did what I was supposed to do, morally speaking, and that gives someone a little bit of euphoria, that makes someone feel good, it makes them feel like a good person. And although it's unavoidable to completely do things altruistically and not do them out of that sense at all, neither should we just accept that, I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of attitude is that considered, altruistic hedonism, something along those lines, where the idea is that you do good, is that people should do good because it makes them feel good and that kind of thing, and that will ultimately lead to more good in the world than bad. And that's a nice idea, but I don't agree with that. I don't think that is correct. I think that if people truly tried to do good because it made them feel good, more so than just out of well-reasoned, deep convictions towards doing good, no matter the cost, I think if people gave into a hedonistic sort of attitude towards it, they would probably cause, if not more harm in the world than good, they would probably not do a great deal of good, because, as I've said, it's far too easy for people without scruples to exploit those who are just genuinely trying to do good. It's far too easy for people who are just trying to take advantage of the well-meaning but not necessarily very rigorous, not necessarily very pragmatic type of person. It's far too easy for the unscrupulous to take advantage of them, and so if someone were to try to do good out of a well-intentioned hedonistic attitude, they would probably just end up lining the pockets of someone who was keen to take advantage of that kind of attitude. It would probably just amount to not much real good and just temporary empty pleasure on the part of the person who was trying to live that kind of altruistic, hedonistic lifestyle, which, they might feel good about that. Such a person might feel good about that. They probably would, as long as they didn't truly consider what was the real goal. Was this person trying to genuinely do good, or was this person trying to just feel good about themselves? If we are more rigorous about it and don't just act on the whim of a moment, if we don't just act on what seems like the good thing that just comes to our heart in the moment, if we really think about it more, if we're more contemplative, if we really think about it from all sides, and we think, well, what is it I'm really trying to do, and how can I really go about that, and just trying to put aside personal pleasure, personal satisfaction as much as possible, recognizing that it is just inevitably going to be the part of any human action, really. I mean, we all try to sublimate our, well, not all, but people try to sublimate their natural psychological desires and impulses towards feeling good and getting satisfaction, but without satisfaction, without some degree of personal satisfaction, a human being would probably just drive oneself crazy. But what it comes down to really is being extremely rigorous about the desire to do good. They're being really rigorous about recognizing the necessity and the beauty and the nobility of compassion, and how it is the best human emotion, it is the purest state of human existence, but also recognizing that it can be dangerous if not mastered, if not understood, and if not treated with respect. It deserves great respect. Compassion deserves great respect, both for the good it can do as well as the unintended consequences that can arise from it if we don't act with forethought, if we don't, to a certain extent, restrain ourselves and use a logical mindset to think about what we really want to accomplish, and not fall into traps along the way, because it's far too easy to fall into traps along the way if we're simply doing what our emotions dictate, no matter how well-intentioned those emotions are, no matter how well-placed they are, and no matter how beautiful they are in the moment. Because that sense of communing with a higher level of humanity, of connection, of really connecting with the broader humanity and the whole human continuum, that is an intoxicating and beautiful feeling, and we should not be afraid to experience it. We cannot be afraid to be one with it, because to do so would be abhorrent. It would be an abomination to refuse something so profound and beautiful. But it is also necessary to recognize that our emotions can be, if they do not lead us astray strictly, others can use them to lead us astray. It is not out of the question that even our best intentions can be twisted and perverted by those who don't share those same goals, who have lesser goals, who have goals that do not include any sort of higher motive. Those who, well, for example, charities that very selfishly fleece those who, out of pure good sentiment, donate their time and energy to those charities. Many charities are unscrupulous and steal from those who give to them. And of course, not all charities are like that. Most are good, most are decent. But there are those who would see no real issue with doing something so unscrupulous, with being so cold, with disregarding the noble spirit in which those donations were intended. And because of this, they can unfortunately, the people who are unscrupulous and do this, they can really enrich themselves off the backs of those who really just want to help and are acting out of a good, honest, sincere attempt to help. So of course the moral is not to withhold at all. No, it's not about withholding. It's not about being suspicious. It's not about withholding good works or good intentions, or doubting people who express those same sentiments. It's about simply being aware of the dangers of those without scruples, and thinking that, unfortunately, the same good spirit that makes people gravitate towards their noble, good, compassionate, decent instincts, that same thing that often leads people to think with their hearts more than their minds, that same perfectly admirable sort of mindset, it can also be, unfortunately, because it does necessarily, it's less logical, less rigorous, in the sense of in the sense of applying a great deal of mental dissection to a topic, to a subject, because it involves less pulling apart and less analysis. Perhaps it can be easier to just run with that sentiment, and when perhaps we should stop and be more cautious and simply look and think ahead of time. Because of this, people can take advantage of that strong impulse, that impulse that just tells us to go, that emotional response that says act, and says act now without necessarily really pausing and thinking. As long as we're aware of this, as long as we really try our best to think ahead and just be a bit more aware, a bit more, always consider the possibility that someone may be up to no good. Always consider that, and don't act without thinking, except in those cases where it is appropriate, because of course there are always cases where simply acting more or less emotionally, involuntarily is the correct response. But most of the time, think ahead and take the more pragmatic course when it comes to trying to achieve any good that you personally want to achieve, because any good has to be, it may be simple and pure to imagine or to feel and think about the good we want to achieve in our hearts. When we feel it, it's simple, it's just in the moment. But any real lasting good we want to do, we also have to recognize that it can only be done in the real world through rigorous, complicated, often grueling action. We can only, if we want to feed starving people, we have to go through the whole process. It's easy to think, it's easy to have the sense of, let's just do this, which is good. It's good. We should feel that way. But if we actually want to do it, if we actually want to make that manifest in the real world, then the only way to do that is to go through the entire process of the entire logistical process of actually putting that together, getting food to people, there are countless thousands of steps involved, and it's more complicated than just doing it. So we should want to do it, we should try to do it, but we have to think about the whole rigorous process of actually getting to there and thinking about how we can best accomplish that. And it's similar when it comes to when someone is suggesting, let's do this to fix this problem, to solve this problem. If we're going to actually do it, it's important to think about, what is this person actually suggesting? Does this really make sense? Apply some rigor to it, apply some scrutiny to it. Think, this is good, this is in accordance with the best aspects of humanity, this is in accordance with true compassion, but is what this person is suggesting actually going to make the problem, does it stand a good chance of solving the problem in reality, applying the often harsh nature of reality to it? It's a certain test of practicality, a test of whether a well-intentioned, well-meaning plan can actually do good in the often harsh reality of the world. And if it doesn't, if what this person would be hypothetically suggesting, if it doesn't stand up to scrutiny, they may not be trying to exploit anyone. It's not like that's always the case, but it could be that they are simply trying to take advantage of people's good intentions. They could be trying to sell people a line of action, a line of thought that sounds good and would be good if it could be done, but it may not work out that way. And any effort put towards that plan would be wasted, if not stolen, and put towards the profits of someone who is trying to take advantage of those with good intentions and those who mean well. And so thinking about it that way, just applying more scrutiny, more rigor to a proposal, any proposal that proposes to solve a problem, presumes to fix something that's going wrong in the world. Applying greater rigor and greater scrutiny to it will potentially allow more good to be done, because it will avoid waste, in that wasted effort will not go towards plans and schemes that have no chance of realistically succeeding. And also it can defeat the hucksters and the unscrupulous people who are just trying to take advantage, trying to steal from those with good hearts. If someone tries to sell something that sounds too good to be true, well, that it probably is. And that good effort that they might take advantage of, they might steal, could be put towards better plans and better ideas that do stand up to a higher level of scrutiny and have a better chance of actually doing good in the world.